Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is bit of a comic haul. I kind of went on a pretty big journey, and I gotta tell a little bit of a story before I tell the story, if that makes any sense. Um, my wife has a tendency of planning trips based on movies that she's seen. So a few years back, we went to Algonquin Park. And the reason we chose Algonquin Park was she had just seen a movie about a couple that go out into Algonquin Park, which is this kind of like huge park in Ontario, and they were attacked by a bear. That was the story. It was like they were being sort of stalked and hunted by this bear. And she, for some reason, that encouraged her to make us go on this trip to that park, and the same, actually almost the same location as where the movie was filmed. And yeah, they were even warning when we went there that there were bear attacks. Like, you had to be careful about bears. So it's really strange. I kind of think that my wife is trying to kill us off. I don't know, something weird. So yeah, so that was that trip. And this trip, we had watched Midsummer. So if you're not familiar with Midsummer, I'm going to spoil it. Sorry, but I'm spoiling it. Midsummer is basically a movie about these tourists that go to Sweden and they get killed off by this sort of Swedish, not a death cult, but a like sort of more traditional Swedish culture, like where they believe in making human sacrifices. So yeah, so she chose Sweden. So we basically we went to Sweden, and the whole time we were like noticing like very interesting elements about Sweden. Not that actually I liked Sweden. I thought it was a really great country. The people are really great and stuff like that. But it was interesting because a very different culture than North America. I can really say, like, I was sort of joking with my family, and this is not an insult to Sweden at all, but I was thinking if Trudeau was a country, he would be Sweden, because he's very all about that progressive feminist and like all this environmental thing, and I could sense that in Sweden that they're very in tuned with the sort of progressive movement. And I think it kind of works in some ways in Sweden because you have like more of a like a not so multicultural society, and a society that believes in a strong work ethic. So it can kind of work, but it was very interesting that way. The other thing that I noticed, and my Swedish viewers can comment on this, and I'm just wondering about this in Sweden. I noticed that they're very it's like we were kind of confused by this. Like they're very precise in terms of the way that they say things, or the way that they, like, there's no nuance. It's just that it is what it is kind of thing. Like, we were watching this video, and it was in the Vasa Museum, which is this museum dedicated to a large ship. And the ship basically was built and immediately sunk on its maiden voyage. It sunk within like 1 kilometer having left the port, basically. But because it had sunk, and it sunk in these kind of waters that were very low in oxygen, and helped preserve the boat. So it was at the bottom for about 300 years, and then they brought it up, and it just happened to be this amazing boat, just like beautifully carved, just insane in terms of like the amount of effort put into making this boat. But it's like it's one of a kind in the world, because it's there's not too many boats that are 300 years old, almost 400 years old. Like, this is, I think it was 1628 that it sank. There's just not that many boats that are that old that have been perfectly preserved. And it's you can see it in its entirety. They said it's like 99% the original. Like, it's just like full on well preserved. And yeah, so this boat, they had this video explaining all about the boat, and the video was like you feel like you're going to learn something. You're going to, this video is going to explain all the history, and nope. Like I didn't feel like I knew anything more than I would have known just by knowing, oh, there's this boat. They said there was an inquiry, and the way the video ends, and it really ends like really abruptly, is like the inquiry, nobody was found guilty. And so you're like, oh, but what happened then? Like, like where does it go beyond that? Like, what was the result of this inquiry into the sinking of the boat? And they just ended it. It just ends. The video ends, and actually, you think like maybe roll of credits or something like that. Nope, it just ends. Like the inquiry found there was no one to blame, and that was it. Like nothing happened. So it's just that situation kind of sums up a lot of the stuff that we experienced in Sweden. It's just very interesting that way. That like we were like in this other museum, and there was like these descriptions of the items that we were seeing. And for example, there's this like ornate plate, and you think, oh, it must be like, something special, like maybe 18th century dining serving plate, or from something, or something history, like, because it's on display, it looked kind of significant, and it just said dining plate. That's the description. So it's like, oh, okay. Just, I didn't know that if I didn't read that description. It's like, it was interesting. So I actually really enjoyed Sweden. We only stayed in Stockholm. We stayed there for about 6 days. And in that, it was a very walkable city. It's a very, very convenient city. We stayed downtown, and we walked everywhere we had to go, and we saw lots of cool things. As I said, we saw this Vasa Museum. We saw the Pippi Longstocking Museum, the ABBA Museum, and all these kind of great things. But the key thing, the reason you're watching this video probably, and you're probably waiting for me to get into it, is, did I see any cool comic shops? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. This is my long-winded story to get to that. So yes, I did go to 2 comic shops. Actually, I went to 3, but it was closed. I was like, oh. That was another weird thing about Sweden. Everything closes really early, like 5 o'clock. It's like, okay, what do we do now? Like, nothing to do. So yeah, it was kind of interesting that way. So I did go to 2 comic shops, and I will show you the cool things that I got. Actually, it was funny. Somebody actually recognized me when I was over there. I'm like not a big YouTuber. I'm not famous in any particular way. I just thought it was funny that they recognized me, and they commented on one of my videos saying, hey, were you in Stockholm? And I'm like, yeah, I was. So it was really funny. I just thought it was interesting. So yeah. So the first shop that I went, second shop, actually, this is the second shop. This is, let me see. This is Sarah Bonen. Okay. Suri Bonen. Okay. That's the name of the shop. And the guy there was really nice. Actually, that's sort of what you could say about every Swedish person. They were all super nice, like really great people. And what I like, what I wanted to do is, when I went to Sweden, was find some really rare Swedish versions of Warren magazines. So I collect Warren. I like the idea of finding the ones that were produced in Sweden or like elsewhere, and I wanted to see if they had anything like that. I did find some Swedish things and some Warren ones as well. So first one I thought was kind of interesting, and these all have the price tags on them. I actually negotiated, as I always do. I got about 20% off. And this is Amazing Spider-Man. It's the one with the death of Gwen Stacy. This is a reprint. It was 35 kroners. I paid, a kroner is worth roughly 60 cents US, if that makes sense. So yeah, is that right? No, divided by 10, actually. Divided by 10, and you'll get the exchange rate between kroner and US. So this would be $3.50. And I paid 20% less than that, so roughly $3. So yeah, so Amazing Spider-Man. Thought it was a kind of cool one. And that's the Swedish version of it. Then they had some really great horror stuff. So I picked up a bunch of really great horror stuff. This is Cold Blood, like it translates to Cold Blood. Number 1. It's just a really cool, like, kind of horror cover. This is like from 1970. No, sorry, 1980, 1993. Sorry. I thought that was kind of cool. So that was a little bit more expensive. It was about $6. And this one I got a really great deal on. I don't think he realized how great of a deal this was. So this one was like $20. And this is a first printing, rare Swedish version of the Creepshow book. This normally in the American edition sells for about $200. And this is Bernie Wrightson art. And it's just a really great comic, like Stephen King, and yeah, just a great book. So I thought that was kind of cool to get that. And then they had some really cool magazines. So I thought this one, I just like the cover. I always like this kind of schoolgirl look, like school teacher, I should say, school teacher look. This is Epix Zap. I don't know what it is, but it was like $2, so can't go wrong with that. And now I'll show you some Warren that I got. This is a Warren one, Chalk number 1. I actually have this, and it was funny because I kept on encountering this same book. I guess it might not be as rare as I thought it was. This normally, so I paid like roughly $19. Normally they sell for about anywhere from $50 to $100 on if you go to collectors trying to find this book. So yeah, so I thought that was a pretty great deal. So that's Chalk number 1. And that's a Warren book that was published internationally. And then they had this other one, Graven Man. I don't know. I thought it looked really great. Crazy kind of zombie cover. And they had a magazine. This is Master of Karate. And this is the first Iron Fist. So I thought that was kind of interesting, the Swedish version of it. And that was only $4. And then we got another Cool Blood. And this one is a little bit earlier, I believe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I thought this one was quite cool. Like the decapitated head. This was a bit more expensive. This was like $20. So, but I thought it was cool. Okay, so that was the first shot, or second shot. That was number 1 from 1974, actually. Cool Blood. I thought those were pretty cool. But then there was like we kind of went at the right time to go to Stockholm. It was not super hot. It wasn't super cool. It was just right. But they had this open book fair. And I guess there was like a big cultural event going on in Stockholm. So they had this huge open book fair. And one guy just happened to have a collection of Warren Swedish editions. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I was looking for. And I was trying to like pretend not to be too excited. But I was super excited to see those books. And what happened was, I said, okay, I'd like to get these books. Can I use my credit card? Because I never bring cash. I don't have cash. So he's like, no, I only accept cash. So I'm like trying to find a bank machine. I was like running around all over the place looking for a bank machine, but there's like no bank machines. Nobody uses cash. Like I don't use cash, and nobody in Sweden uses cash. But I did manage to find a bank machine. So I came back, I ran back to the guy, and then I noticed he had a couple other things, and I was like, oh, okay, here's some extra money. So yeah, so at first I got these ones. Another Chalk number 1 again. He wanted, this is like, so if you do the math, it's roughly $15. So, and I negotiated. I got a pretty good deal. It was like maybe 40% off, actually. And then he had chalk number 3. So these are all like reprints of the US versions. So these are like Creepy would be the American equivalent to these. That was $10. Well, actually a little bit cheaper than that. 10 Canadian actually works out to be. So this is another one, really great cover. This is chalk number 4. So it was a pretty good run that I got from him. Didn't have every issue, but this is chalk number 6, 1972. And it's another number 6. I don't know why there's 2 number 6s, but probably for volume 1 and volume 2 maybe. And this was like $15. Not too bad. And then another number 2. So this is kind of cool. And another number 1. So I think it's like maybe different editions. Like anyone that's my Swedish followers, you can tell me what exactly it says. I'm just going by the by the number being 1 and all that kind of stuff. So you can tell me if this is number 1 or whatever. So this is was $20, so not too bad. And the last one is another number 2. So I think it's different volumes, I would guess. This is not from 1973. So yeah, so this is chalk. So I got those ones, and I negotiated, so it worked out to being about 1,000 kroners, which is about $100. I talked him down to 60. So I really talked him down, like 600, I said. And I was like, oh, but do you have anything else? And then I got him to throw in this too. Angela number 1. First appearance of Angela, Spawn number 9. So I thought that was kind of funny. He threw this in. So I got all those and that for 600, which is $60. Then I noticed that he had some other really cool books. He had a Spirit number 1. This is like the Warren version. What the company that made these is Carsland Comics, and they basically actually what they would do is they would distribute in Sweden, but actually they were from Teuton, which is a Spanish company, and they just had the rights to redistribute it. So it was like Teuton had the Spanish rights, and strangely, maybe they had the European rights. I don't know, but basically this was how they got into Sweden, through this other company, which is like 2 points removed. But it's a really cool one. So Spirit number 1, really cool. I really like Will Eisner, and it's just kind of a cool book. And then I got this one. I got to censor it a little bit. Another from the same publisher, and I can't say this. Walt Dens Kung, and it's basically a Wally Wood comic. I'm not sure what that translates to, but I think it's kind of cool. Like kind of a cool cover, and cool artwork inside too. And I can show you the back. Probably needs censoring, but I won't censor it. But yeah, just a really great comic. And I got those. I got a deal. I worked a deal on that, and I paid $10 for the 2 of them. So it's pretty great. So that was my Swedish comic haul. I had a really great time in Sweden. I wanted to say thank you to all the Swedish people that I met. They were all really nice. I think that I'm not sure if the vendors are used to negotiating, but so basically I'd say what's your best deal? and then they would say like, oh, like $100, and I would say, oh, can you do 80? They would be like, sure. I think they're just being nice to me because I was a tourist. So you got to use what you have in order to get the best prices. So I thought that was kind of fun. They were being really nice to me. I have to say they were really great people, and I really did appreciate the hospitality that I found in Sweden. I never considered Sweden a tourist place to go, unless you watch Midsummer and you have a wife that wants to kill you off. But I actually recommend it. It was very, very fun, and it was very nice people. So I really enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and my crazy stories. And thanks for watching. Bye.